Welcome back to my videos on how to become a successful importer. This is part 3 of this video. First of all, I hope you enjoyed those part 1 and part 2. Part 3 will talk about the agreement and arrangements you will make with customs and your manufacturers or those individuals that you will be importing from a foreign country. First of all, let me put it this way. To become a successful importer with customs, you must have an ID number, an importer ID number. That number identifies you as the importer of record. Importer of record is very important. So let's put it this way. Once you start importing, you will then have to have this number. Number 2, your broker also have an important number, has a broker number, ID number, and that identifies him as the representative with customs. When we talk about arrangements and agreements, we must remember that whatever you are importing from foreign, it must not violate customs laws. Therefore, you should be aware that you should have an agreement with your shipper. You should have an agreement with your manufacturers or whoever it is that you purchasing your merchandise from, that they should be guaranteeing customs that you are not including any contraband, anything that will violate those laws of customs and the countries that you are exporting from or importing from. Therefore, once you have these agreements, your shipping line also, you should have an agreement with your shipping line. Therefore, having notification of when a bill of lading has been submitted, and that bill of lading would have the numbers of pieces or containers that are being manifested, and that manifest should be able to indicate if there is a shortage or an overage. So therefore, customs should have that information beforehand. That means to say, most times, shipping companies and airlines using the electronic manifesting will give custom an advanced knowledge of a shortage or an overage. Now we have this information available. The customs also have something called the CTPAT, Customs Partner Against Terrorism. Therefore, these containers will be examined for any kind of contraband. Once it arrives in the United States, these containers may have a waiver based upon the CTPAT agreement or may not. What is important to remember is that once you have an invoice, that invoice must correspond to the manifest. On that bill of lading, we'll have numbers of how many pieces is on that bill of lading. Agreements. Customs like to know that you have information that is absolutely correct. They will process your entry at 3461 or a 7512. If that 7512 is if this cargo is going to move inbound, or if it's going to be a duty paid entry, 7501. What you need to know is that once that entry has been filed, customs automatically will review this entry, and if they make a determination that everything is correct, they release this cargo. The shipment now will be then released from the shipping line. Think about this entry. This entry goes through a process. Once it leaves customs, the broker will then file its entry back with customs for liquidation. Liquidation means to say that this entry is reviewed by import specialists. Import specialists will determine if the tariff numbers and the percentage of duties are correct. Then those duties are then assessed and payments is made to the government. We have to remember that once that entry has been liquidated, the broker pays the duties or whatever arrangement has been made, and that entry is now being sent into archives. You have to also remember that once you have a shipment that's been imported into the United States, there is a grace period to file an entry. Entry must be filed within that period of time, normally within 15 days, maybe less. But you have to make sure that your entry is filed. If not, your cargo, shipment of cargo, will go into general order. General order means to say that that cargo will sit there until you file an entry or the government decide to auction it off. If you decide to file an entry while that cargo is in general order, you have to pay all the storage charges and still pay your entry, file an entry and make all the payments necessary. There are other provisions set up for if you are unable to file an entry, you can send it into a customs bonded warehouse where it has a little extended period of time. But still, in the meantime, you still have to make a decision if you will have that cargo for consumption or you're going to export it. There's another option that you have. If you cannot find a buyer for that market in the United States, you can find out from a foreign trade zone operator if that cargo would be accepted into that foreign trade zone, whereby you have an indefinite period of leaving it there until you find a period of time, until you find a buyer for that market. Customs also have numerous other options to detain your goods, release your goods. You have to remember it's all about you following the agreement and you following procedures that will be necessary for you to release, for you to have your cargo. Customs have bonds, and every carrier that enters the United States must have a carrier bond. These bonds guarantee the Customs Service and the government that the duties, if they incurred, will be paid. You also have to remember that once you decide to become an importer, you must take all necessary steps to follow the rules and regulations necessary. And by doing that, you won't have much of a problem with customs. Most people have fear of customs, but there is no need for you to be fearful of customs because it's simple procedures that needs to be followed. There are guidelines, and all you have to do is follow those guidelines. Like, for instance, if you have a shipment of cargo arriving at a port, inbound port, but your facility is not at that inbound port, you can request an immediate transportation to the port that is nearest to you. Call it an immediate transportation 7512, whereby customs will agree to allow you to move that cargo on the bond to the next destination inland port. That once that cargo reaches the inland port, you can therefore file whatever entry is required to clear that cargo. Most of all, it's allowing yourself to become an importer, but most of all, making sure that you have this communication with your manufacturer, producer, or seller of your merchandise. Once you have this agreement, the flow of everything works in place. For example, the Sibera countries, That means to say the Caribbean countries and Central America. If you import anything from these countries, it's free of duties. You don't have to pay the duties. All you have to do is pay your transportation costs or filing of the entry by your broker. You have the general preference system, GPS, GSP, whereby you can import from many countries that has been given this freedom to export merchandise to the United States without paying customs duties. Taking advantage of these different programs will help you. It's all about exploring the possibilities. It's all about taking advantage of avenues that are available. Becoming an importer is just like buying and selling a house. You have a buyer, and all you have to do is find out where a manufacturer is selling that product. You import it, and you distribute it, or make a connection to whoever wants to buy it, and you become the person in the middle. Or you can do it yourself. You can become an importer and a seller too. So the avenues are great. So if you don't take advantage of these opportunities, guess what? It's something that you may want to regret. So take advantage of my videos. If you like them, I would like you to click. I'd like you to share or subscribe to my videos. And I thank you for watching my videos. Thank you.